The morning they tried to take my home, I didn't shout. I documented. My own daughter-in-law sent police to check on me, but I greeted them with a camera and a calm voice. They thought I was confused. I was just collecting proof. The story had only begun. The morning sunlight slid through my kitchen blinds, the kind that paints everything honey gold before the heat sets in. I shuffled in my slippers, poured myself a cup of coffee, and listened to the faint hum of life outside, robins in the oak, the low rumble of a truck turning onto Hillsborough Road. At my age, quiet as gold. I said it out loud, half a joke, half a reminder. Then I noticed the garage door. It was open, wide like a yawn. Drayton never left it open. Not once in 30 years. The cup stopped halfway to my lips. I set it down on the coaster he carved from cedar. The scent of lemon soap still hung near the sink. Saturday mornings used to smell like this. Steady. Safe. I walked to the window. The April light stretched long across the driveway, indifferent to the knot forming in my stomach. "I keep what we built," I whispered, steadying myself before stepping into air that suddenly felt too thin. The screen door gave a tired squeak as I pushed through, and the porch wood sighed beneath my feet. That sound, soft and familiar, made me think of all the weekends he'd spent in that garage, tinkering, humming low to whatever blues record he had playing. I pressed the keypad, but the door was already wide, gaping. A shaft of light cut through the empty space, catching dust where chrome used to glint. My breath hitched. The nurse in me counted, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Still, my pulse wouldn't slow. The oil stain remained, dark and shaped like a ghost of what was once there. His tools were lined up, wrenches hanging like soldiers at attention, their outlines still traced in black marker. I ran my fingers over them, needing to feel something solid. "Now who told you to be open?" I murmured. A southern habit, talking to houses when people stop listening. I looked around, cataloging every detail. The red toolbox was closed, but Drayton's old ledger lay open on the bench, its last entry, 5 years old. Carburetor dialed perfect. I touched the page. Grit and lemon oil rubbed into my skin, grounding me in the here and now. Every jar was still labeled in his careful print. Bolts 516, but the car, his life's joy, was gone. My throat tightened until sound vanished altogether. I finally said it aloud, voice barely a breath. "No, sir." As if the car might roll back in on command, I stared into that empty bay like it could blink and become whole again. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Then I heard tires on gravel. A silver SUV pulled into the drive. My daughter, Lyra, stepped out, looking sharp as always in white sneakers and a tennis skirt that had never seen a court. "Mom, you up?" she called, waving her phone like a badge. Door was open, I said evenly. "You notice?" She walked past me into the garage, her perfume filling the space where motor oil used to live. "It's fine." "Mom," she said, scanning the empty bay. "We had to make a decision." "What decision?" She didn't meet my eyes. "I sold it. Cameron's flying to Paris for meetings. It was just sitting here." I heard myself ask. Calm as glass. "You sold your father's car?" She shrugged. "People move on. Mom, you should too. Get over it." The words landed like a slap. I thought of every night Drayton worked under that hood, every holiday we spent saving for its restoration. I swallowed hard. "Honey, I'm not new to pain," I said, voice quiet but sharp. "But I do read titles." She waved her phone. It was an e-sign thing. "Simple." "Simple?" I repeated, my jaw setting. She patted my arm, soft and dismissive. "We'll send pics from France." Then she smiled, thin, distant, and walked toward her car. I stood alone. staring at the stain on the floor. The silence around me changed shape, no longer hollow, but focused. I pulled Drayton's ledger close, feeling its weight. "You don't talk a storm down," my grandmother used to say. "You board your windows." I took out my phone, snapped pictures of everything: the open door, the stain, the tools untouched, the beginning of a paper trail. My hands steadied. I locked the keypad, poured the cold coffee back into the pot, and watched it warm. Then the landline rang, one sharp chirp, then again. I almost ignored it. When I picked up, a man's voice said, calm and respectful, "Ma'am, are you Eudora Halen?" "Yes," I said slowly. "There's something you need to know. Your husband left something inside that car. You need to come now." The line clicked alive, and with it, something in me did too. I wrote the address down on a yellow sticky, the kind that's been on my fridge since Drayton was alive. Drewland Motors, Brentwood. The caller's voice had been calm, careful, like he'd rehearsed respect. I slipped Drayton's old journal into my purse, the one with grease smudges on the corner, and told myself this wasn't panic, just follow-up. Before leaving, I checked the small rituals that make a day real: wallet, keys, phone. I even texted my neighbor Maeve, out for a few hours, because at 69, you don't disappear without telling someone. The Nissan's engine hummed low as I pulled out, radio off. I needed to hear the world think. I passed the hospital where I'd worked 35 years, the church steeple Drayton painted one summer, the diner where we used to split a slice of pie. My mind cataloged each landmark, steadying itself. At my age, you don't chase storms, you read the sky. I rehearsed what I'd ask: who signed the sale, what timestamp, what paperwork. Lyra's voice: "Get over it," tried to surface, but I pushed it down. Facts were my anchor. The highway to Brentwood shimmered with late morning heat. "Steady hands." "Eudora," I murmured, tapping the wheel. "We've handled harder." But the caller's words replayed anyway. "Your husband left something inside that car." Drewland Motors sat quiet behind a line of polished classics. A tall man in a denim shirt stood waiting by the office door, posture straight, hat in hand. "Miss Halen?" he asked. I nodded. The way he said my name, no honey, no ma'am, told me he knew how to talk to grown women, not girls. That small dignity mattered. He led me through the office, past framed photos of restored engines. One picture stopped me cold. Drayton, younger but unmistakable, bent over a carburetor beside Drewland himself. "He was a hell of a teacher," the man said softly. "Said if I ever smelled trouble, call you direct." I steadied my breathing. "My daughter sold it Wednesday?" He nodded. "She tried. I paid the minimum to freeze the title transfer before it left the state." His tone was plain, factual, like a man walking a legal tightrope. "Didn't feel right. I'm old school. You don't sign nothing blind." "Good," I said. "That makes two of us." He copied my ID, printed a holding receipt, and showed me the digital log. The VIN matched Drayton's restoration files exactly. We signed nothing yet. I wanted eyes on proof first. Then he gestured toward the service bay. "It's here. Been waiting for you." The sight took my breath. Under the fluorescent lights, Drayton's Shelby gleamed like dark wine, dust catching the air around it. I walked closer, slow as prayer. The tires still bore his alignment chalk marks. The leather seat looked newly conditioned, but familiar enough to hurt. A folded rag rested on the cowl, his way. Long ways, then thirds. My throat tightened. "Your husband told me if the car ever left your control, I was to call you," Drewland said. "He said you'd understand what that meant." I nodded. unable to speak. The glove box latch caught my eye, a small gleam under the dash. I remembered his old tease, "If I'm not around, look where I'd hide a love note." My fingers hovered but stopped short. I wanted witnesses, not ghosts. Drulin cleared his throat. "Ms. Halen, there's more." He walked to a drawer, pulled out a small tin box, and held it out like something sacred. He left this with me, said it was for when the day came. Inside lay a USB drive, silver, with one word in Drayton's block letters: Eudora. We stepped into his office. He turned off the radio, pulled the blinds halfway, and inserted the drive into an old computer tower. The screen flickered once. Then Drayton's face filled the monitor, hat low, eyes steady. Same half-smile that had always calmed me before arguments, funerals, storms. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, voice softer than I remembered. My hands trembled, but I pressed them together in my lap. "If you're seeing this, it means something went sideways. Don't panic. I left you what you need." He paused, leaned forward. "If that car's ever taken without your say-so, check the glove box. I hid proof you'll need when feelings start running hotter than facts." He thanked Drulin for being his backup man, then looked straight at me. "You always stood your ground. Eudora, don't stop now. You and me, we don't quit. We reset." When the video ended, silence took shape between us. I wiped a tear that wasn't grief. It was recognition. "All right, Drayton," I whispered. "I'm on it." Drulin handed me a stack of papers, intake photos, VIN logs, time-stamped sale attempt. "I'll testify if needed," he said. "Keep copies," I replied. "Voice even. Truth has legs." We moved the car into a private bay. Door down. The light turned gold through the small window. I checked my pill alarm, right on time, and swallowed the tablet dry. Routine steadied me. I slipped into the driver's seat, leather still warm from the sun. "All right," I said quietly, glancing at Drulin. "Record ready?" "Yes, ma'am." I placed my hand on the latch. Eudora Halen, owner. Opening glove box at 11:39. A faint click. The panel shifted, slow and sure. Inside, a corner of manila and a flash of metal waited like they'd been holding their breath for me. I steadied my breath before speaking. Camera light blinking red on the dash. Eudora Halen, owner, time, 11:42. VIN ending 473912. My tone was calm, the kind you use when you've been through too many emergencies to waste emotion. Drulin confirmed, "Yes, ma'am." And I began. I photographed each angle, the latch, the panel, the faint dust line marking where Drayton's hands once rested. I pressed, slid, and tilted just as he'd shown in that video, the shelf easing open with a sigh. I used a clean microfiber cloth. Nurse habit, never contaminate what you may need later. Inside, a manila envelope with his bold print, title, Trust, Instructions. Beneath it, a smaller craft packet clinked, metal. I placed them on a clean tray and filmed every second. From glove box to tray, witnessed by Mr. Casey, I said aloud. Then I locked my purse in the trunk of my Nissan. No loose ends. I opened the envelope carefully. The top document caught my eye first, a certified title showing Eudora Halen, sole owner. A crisp blue notary seal gleamed from 2 years ago. Drayton had filed this quietly, leaving nothing to chance. Behind it, a page labeled Halen Family Vehicle Trust listed me as trustee, Jethro Van as successor. The clause was unmistakable. No sale or transfer without written consent of trustee. My pulse steadied, the air around me thick with relief and outrage combined. A stapled note in his handwriting read, "If anyone moves this car without your say-so, call Jethro, then breathe." I could almost hear his voice. 2 glossy photos followed, one of the VIN plate, one of Drayton holding a newspaper from that same date. His humor, his proof. The craft packet held a small brushed steel key labeled FNB, Box 311. I stared at it for a long beat, feeling his practicality bloom through the grief. I signed and dated a quick inventory list, letters firm and straight, like I was charting vitals again. Then memory pulled me somewhere softer. One summer evening on the porch swing, fireflies flickering. Drayton had said, "I can fix most things if I've got the right diagram." I'd laughed. "What about people?" He'd grinned. "People need torque specs too. Love snug, not stripped." I didn't understand it then, but now it played like a coded message. Every labeled jar in that garage, every sticky note he'd left, it was all a diagram for surviving him. "Y'all," I said quietly for the recording. "Sometimes love is paperwork." It wasn't poetry, but it was protection. He hadn't just rebuilt a car, he'd built me a map out of chaos. I squared my shoulders. Grief could step aside. Competence was driving now. I called Jethro's office again, leaving a concise voicemail, trust clause confirmed, title in my name, key labeled FNB, Box 311, witness on site. Then I asked Drewland to scan and email every document, photos, receipts, the forged sale log. "Use the subject line, Halen Trust Proof," I said. "I'll find it fast later." I texted Maeve next. "Found trust and key. Can you check my garage keypad log?" Her reply came fast. "On it, honey." Routine was safety. I set a phone reminder, call First National Bank, Monday, 9 a.m. Then I backed up every file to both cloud and thumb drive. "Measure twice, cut once," I murmured. Drewland smiled. "That's how my daddy built everything that lasted." I rehearsed the next steps in my head. Sunday, organize. Monday, bank. Tuesday, Jethro at my kitchen table. I would call a family dinner that same evening, not to scold, but to show. The trust, the title, the photos. Then one clear sentence. "This car is not for sale." I whispered it aloud, liked the sound. Calm, final, unshakable. "I love you, but I will not be handled." I asked Drewland to keep the car sealed in the bay until further notice. My hand closed around the key, cool against my palm, and warmth spread through my chest like resolve returning to a numbed limb. Then my phone chimed, a message from Lyra, her smile framed by the Eiffel Tower, captioned, "Told you, Paris suits us. Try to be happy for me." I let out a slow breath, the kind that clears a room of its heat. I typed back only, "Family dinner, Tuesday, 6." Then I locked the screen, each tap deliberate. The air in the bay stilled, thick with something new, not grief, not rage, but strategy. I set the table like a deposition, not a family supper, no flowers, no candles, just placemats, water glasses, a legal pad, and a desktop clock angled toward the center. In the middle lay a neat stack of clear sleeves holding the title, trust clause, and VIN photos. The originals waited beside me in a red folder, locked and ready. Drayton's work journal rested quietly on the buffet, a witness in leather binding. I started a voice memo and spoke the date and time into my phone, for accuracy, not drama. My tone was calm, even, my heart steady. I whispered the line I'd rehearsed. "I'll speak once, slowly. I won't raise my voice. I will not be handled." That was the boundary, not a threat. At 6:05, tires crunched the gravel. Lyra and Cameron entered without knocking, 5 minutes late, as expected. Cameron smelled like hotel soap and certainty. Lyra's perfume announced her before she spoke. "Hi, Mom," she sang. Too bright. I smiled, tight but polite. "Supper's ready. Chili and cornbread. Something that tells the truth." She laughed. Unsure, I motioned for them to sit. Phones went face down, mine first, theirs second. "Just so we can focus," I said. 2 spoons clinked. 2 breaths later, I slid the stack of documents forward. "Let's get to what matters." Silence fell heavy. I read one sentence. "This car is not for sale, and it never was." Lyra's lips curved into that polished smile. "Mom, you're being emotional." I slid the title forward, blue notary seal catching the light. "Eudora Halen." I read aloud. "Sole owner." My voice stayed level. Next, the trust clause. No sale or transfer without trustees' written consent. I pointed to my name on the page, slow and deliberate. Then the photos, VIN, intake receipts, timestamps. "I'm not confused," I said quietly. "I'm reading." Cameron shifted in his chair. Lyra smirked. "E-signatures are legal. I authorized it for you." I met her eyes. "Show me the power of attorney with my signature." Her silence landed harder than any insult. The clock on the table ticked like a metronome marking their disbelief. Lyra tried a softer voice. "You're making this ugly? Mom? Dad wouldn't want that." I nodded toward the journal. "Your father wanted the truth neat and labeled." Cameron leaned in, all charm and cologne. "We can make this a win-win, Ms. Halen." I looked straight at him. "Sir, I don't do win-wins where I'm the one who loses." I pulled a page from the folder, the dealer's appraisal sheet, market value triple what they'd accepted. "This is what you traded integrity for." I slid across printouts of their Paris posts, time-stamped same day as the sale. "You weren't helping family. You were helping your itinerary." The quiet afterward felt earned. At 6:42, the doorbell rang. Lyra frowned. "You invited someone else?" "Not exactly," I said. Jethro Van stepped in. Gray suit, calm authority. "Evening," he greeted, setting his folio on the table. He introduced himself for the recording, then opened the folder. Original trust. Notarized title. "Halen's ownership is sole and verified," he said. "Any sale or e-signature without written power of attorney is invalid under Tennessee statute." His tone wasn't angry, just final. "Attempted transfer of trust property can constitute civil fraud." He placed a notice of revocation and refund demand on the table. "If it ain't in writing," he added with a glance at me. "It ain't real." Lyra's voice cracked. "You set me up." Jethro's reply was simple. "Ma'am, the paper caught up to the truth." I gathered the sleeves, closed the red folder, and spoke the line that ended everything. "I love you, but I will not be handled." Chairs scraped. Cameron reached for his phone, but Jethro tapped the notice and said, "Clock starts now." I reached across the table and blew out the candle I never lit. The room went still, like even the air knew a line had been drawn. Then, as I walked them toward the door, headlights swept across the living room. A police cruiser rolled to the curb and idled, its quiet presence louder than any argument left unsaid. The cruiser door opened, and 2 Franklin officers stepped out, their vests catching my porch light. I noted their badge numbers aloud as I pressed record on my phone. "Evening, officers. You're welcome to speak with me right here." One nodded, explaining they'd received a call about an elderly woman, possibly confused, financially exploited. I steadied my breath. I don't mind questions, just facts first. Behind me, Jethro stood within earshot, hands visible, already logging the time. My voice stayed calm. This address is correct. Yes? The caller's name? They avoided the question but looked uneasy. A welfare check, dressed up like concern, felt more like a dagger wrapped in honey. They asked orientation questions. Date, time, my last meal, the president's name. I answered each with the crisp tone I'd used charting vitals in my nursing days. Then I gestured toward the dining table, where the trust papers still sat. You're free to review those, gentlemen. That's the car in question. One officer flipped through the pages and nodded slowly. Everything appears in order, ma'am. Good, I said. The caller is my daughter-in-law. We had a civil disagreement over property. Nothing more. Jethro added evenly. Active civil matter. Trust bars transfer without Ms. Halen's consent. I could feel the sting of it, my own flesh and blood calling the cops as a tactic. But I didn't let it show. To the camera, I said softly. Sometimes folks don't help you. They handle you. Inside. The officers followed me to the table. I laid out the notice of revocation and the signed trust copies, the timestamp still visible on my phone. They asked for duplicates. Jethro handed them clean printouts and his card. Cameron tried to interject from the doorway. This is all a misunderstanding. But one officer raised a hand. Sir, please wait outside. The tone had shifted. What began as concern was now procedure. I said what every senior watching would understand. If it isn't written, it can't stand up. One officer radioed dispatch, confirming, resident coherent legal counsel present. No signs of impairment. I could almost hear the oxygen return to my lungs. Then my phone buzzed twice in rapid succession. Fraud alerts. I opened the banking app, attempted HELOC on my home, denied. Another alert. Mailing address change requested, paperless statements enabled. My stomach hardened. Within seconds, a DMV email appeared. Someone trying to transfer my car's title digitally to a dealer account. 12 minutes ago, I murmured. Jethro leaned over, eyes narrowing. Preserve screenshots, capture IP and timestamp. I angled the screen so the body cam caught it all. One officer said, That's identity theft. We'll file it as such. Cameron muttered, It's a glitch. Avoiding my eyes, I ignored him. I've worked 40 years for peace of mind, I said, tapping the phone. I'm not letting someone click it away. I froze my credit on all 3 bureaus while they watched. Quick, calm, step by step. Jethro called the county clerk, requesting a fraud flag on any power of attorney filings. I contacted my bank's after-hours line to lock safe deposit box 311. All signatures by counsel only, Jethro said, typing as he spoke. I repeated for the camera. Information is not an insult, it's protection. The officers nodded and handed me a case number. We'll document the exploitation attempt, one said. I smiled faintly. I sleep fine when my ducks are in a row. When they left, the night air pressed quiet against the porch. Cameron looked gray. Lyra's car idled at the curb. My phone lit with her text. You'll regret sicking cops on me. I turned it toward the officer before he drove off. Threat documented, he said. Jethro's voice was calm but sure. Paper trail wins again. Headlights cut across my yard. A woman in a black blazer stepped out, briefcase in hand. Ms. Halen? She called. I have a 7:55 appointment. Power of attorney package. I exhaled through my nose, slow and steady. Well, I said, opening the door just a sliver. You can come in, on the record. The woman on my porch looked younger than I expected. Mid-30s, neat bun, black blazer, badge lanyard glinting under the porch light. I kept the chain on the door. Name, please. And hold your ID steady. She complied, voice level. Angela Morton, mobile notary. Commission expires June 2027. I read the number aloud into my phone recorder. You're being recorded for accuracy, not suspicion. She nodded. When I asked who booked her, she answered, Lyra Halen Roach, rush fee via Sign Quick. My chest tightened, but my tone stayed even. You can step inside to the dining table. Cameras still rolling, same light as the welfare check. I poured 2 glasses of water. I don't sign hungry, rushed, or confused, I told her. The red folder stayed closed beside me. Pen capped, she opened her briefcase, sliding out a manila packet thick with pre-filled forms. Springing power of attorney, durable POA, HELOC authorization, DMV title transfer. Each page carried my name and birth date. But the email was wrong. The address a condo I'd never seen. A line labeled Witness Cameron Roche. My stomach went cold. Who gave you this data? I asked. Client's assistant, she said. Uncertain. I requested she print that email address on her acknowledgement for transparency. Understand, Miss Morton, I said. A trust bars any transfer without my signed consent. I have never granted POA. She straightened. Professional again. If that's the case, you simply refuse. I slid her a copy of my no contact notice from Jethro. Initial receipt for my record. She did. Pen scratching neat initials. My phone vibrated. Lyra's text glowed. Sign tonight or we'll file you unfit. I tilted the screen so both the notary and body cam lens caught it. A second message followed. The notary can witness your consent. I spoke evenly. That's coercion. The notary stiffened. Voice firm. I cannot proceed under duress. Footsteps crossed the porch. Cameron, uninvited. Let's just get this done for the points, he said, grinning thinly. An officer from earlier, still nearby finishing his report, stepped in behind him, body cam blinking red. Sir, he prompted. The audio caught everything, I said clearly. I decline all signatures. Please leave. The notary exhaled. This package is void. She stamped void across the first page, drew a diagonal line, and closed her briefcase. I asked her to complete a refusal of notarization entry in her journal, noting, signer declined duress. She handed me a photocopy of that page, stamped and signed. I photographed it beside her seal, then emailed both images to Jethro in my secure folder labeled Notary Refusal Timestamp. The officer issued an addendum number for attempted exploitation. I jotted it on the top sheet of my red folder beside tonight's date. Paper is patient, I murmured. So am I. Jethro, on speaker, reached the night duty judge within minutes. Trust, title, welfare check, notary refusal, all attached, he reported. The judge's order came back electronic and clean. A temporary restraining order preventing any transfers, liens, or actions on my assets for 14 days. Jethro forwarded it to Drulin Motors. The dealer replied, hold confirmed with photos and a canceled bill of sale. I read the line aloud for the memo. Status quo preserved, no irreparable harm. Cameron muttered. You escalated this. I met his eyes. No, I documented it. The officer advised him that those texts bordered on undue influence. Cameron's face drained color. The notary apologized. I handed her bottled water, and she left quietly. I emailed a written no trespass notice to both of them. Certified mail queued for morning. I added the credit freeze confirmation and clerk fraud flag email to the folder. My alarms were already set. Bank at 9, safe deposit box at 10, dealer pickup pending counsel. I smiled to myself. We don't wrestle in the mud, I said softly. We pave the road and drive. Then I remembered the small key in my purse. Box 311. Drayton's handwriting flashed in my mind, for when you need more than courage. I placed the key beside the red folder, its metal glint steady as my pulse. "Tomorrow," I whispered. We opened the box. Outside, Cameron's rideshare idled, engine low. When he was gone, the house sighed back into stillness. I locked the deadbolt, turned off the porch light, and rested my palm over the cool key. Whatever waited in box 311 would finish what the trust began. I arrived at First National 10 minutes early, the kind of early that keeps nerves in check. The morning air had that crisp Tennessee brightness, and the vault's marble floor reflected it back like calm water. Alma Pierce, the branch manager, met me with a smile that understood storms. We talked about the weather, the power flickers last night, the choir she'd missed Sunday. Ordinary talk steadies people like us. I told my phone, Eudora Halen, October 23rd, 9:52, box 311, witness present. Alma nodded, proud of the clean paper on my fraud alerts. She guided me past the heavy door, keys clinking. "Private booths open, ma'am, 2 envelopes inside." I carried my red folder, glasses, a legal pad, and that quiet mind Drayton always said was my best defense. "No one rushes me in a bank," I told her, and she chuckled. "Amen to that." She stood by the booth entrance, initials logged as witness. When I opened the box, 3 items waited. A sealed letter marked "Open when you need more than courage," a cream folder labeled "Ledger," and a blue portfolio stamped "Contacts." My hands trembled before I steadied them on the cool metal. Drayton's handwriting hit like his voice, steady, factual, affectionate. The letter said, "If you're here, something's wrong. Steady your breath. Read the ledger. Call the names in blue." I obeyed. The ledger wasn't money. It was a record of patterns. Notes in his neat block print. Lyra adds her name to card. Cameron asks about consolidating. Cross-reference dates matched my own journal. I felt my throat tighten. He hadn't doubted me. He'd been documenting beside me. The blue portfolio held TechCore stock certificates with a transfer agent letter confirming full ownership, resources for the fight ahead. Behind that, 2 business cards. Stan Wright, Phoenix, George Murphy, Tampa. A note below, they saw her pattern too. In a side room, Alma brought me water. I dialed Stan first, put it on speaker. "I'm recording for the file," I said. He agreed, voice calm. His story mirrored mine. A daughter-in-law protecting his mother with forged authority and a quick property sale. George's account came next. Identical phrases. Same manipulation. "For your own good," he repeated bitterly. Alma looked up from her notes. Patterns clear as daylight. Both men offered statements. I emailed them forms within minutes. "Patterns aren't hunches," I said. "They're habits with dates." I texted Jethro. "We have corroboration and funds." His reply came quick. "DA intake at 3. Bring ledger and banker witness." Alma scanned Drayton's letter, leaving the original sealed. Each page got her initials and timestamp. I emailed Jethro. Ledger, PDF, witness sheet, call summaries, stock copies, TRO, welfare report, all in one clean packet. I wrote a 1-page victim narrative, just facts, no adjectives. Alma printed the confirmations, stapled by color code. "If you want to sleep," I said, "put your paper to bed." She laughed softly as she printed the cashier's check retainer. By 3. I was in the courthouse annex. Detective Marla Keene from the Elder Exploitation Unit introduced herself with a firm handshake. The ADA joined, young but serious. They reviewed the packet. Marla read aloud key lines: trust clause, notary refusal, time-stamped fraud attempts, "You've done our work for us," she said. Drulin Motors confirmed the car hold and the bogus bill of sale with Lyra's e-signature. "Unauthorized disposition," the ADA declared. They filed a criminal complaint for attempted exploitation, forgery, and ID theft. Jethro added civil claims for damages. I told them, "Handle it by law, not by shouting." Marla smiled. "Yes, ma'am." Mid-meeting, a message pinged, Lyra, at a UPS store, trying a new notary. Marla dispatched officers. Within 10 minutes, they confirmed a refusal and recorded footage. "Pattern, not panic," Marla said. Cameron called. Voice thin. The ADA ordered him to stop contact. He stammered "Yes, ma'am." That was the first crumble of their facade. Home by 5. I placed the red folder beside Drayton's journal. I left one voicemail. "Retain counsel. Do not come here." Then silence. I bolted the windows, cooked okra and cornbread, set an extra plate out of habit. The hum of the printer finishing the last witness sheet filled the house. "I'm alone," I whispered, "but not unbacked." Dusk arrived with the sound of an engine. I glanced out. Reggie Lowry stood beside my Shelby, paint gleaming. "We got the ADA's note," he said softly. "We can return her under conditional release." I nodded. "Bring her home." As he parked, he handed me a small tin. "From Drayton. Said to deliver it when the car came home." I held it like it might speak. "Drayton," I said into the quiet. "I'm listening." The morning came soft and gold, the kind that makes the world seem cleaner than it was the night before. I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of coffee and the small tin beside it. "Good morning, Drayton," I said quietly, because I still spoke to him out loud when the air was still. The tin was cool to the touch, its hinge stiff with time. Inside lay a brass key, a folded index card, a micro SD, and a tiny notarized slip with Drayton's signature and date. The card said, "For the glove box false panel. If you're here, you need it. No poetry, no drama, just him." I slid the key into my pocket, placed the SD by my laptop, and locked the door behind me. "I don't rush good work," I told myself. "I just move steady." In the garage, the Shelby waited like an animal at rest. The scent of leather and old gasoline met me like memory. I leaned down, feeling the cool metal under my fingertips, and found the lip under the glove box. The key turned with a small click, and the false panel released. Inside, a USB marked Shelby Owner Proof, a GoPro card labeled Dealer Day My Voice, and a sealed envelope titled Notarized Addendum. My heart stayed even, but my breath caught on the laptop. Drayton appeared, alive, calm, wearing that old denim shirt. "This car belongs to my wife, Eudora Halen. No sale without her in person." From off camera, Reggie's voice answered, "Understood." The addendum bore a notary seal tying the VIN to the Halen Family Trust. Copies of title tabs matched my ledger. I texted Jethro and Detective Marla. "We have video, notarized addendum, VIN proof." Replies came instantly. "Bring it to court." At 1 o'clock, I stood in the courthouse annex. The ADA presented the packet. Video, notary addendum, bank witness sheet, dealer photos. The judge watched the screen, chin resting on his hand, eyes narrowing at each timestamp. "Mrs. Halen," he asked, "do you feel unsafe?" "With the orders in place, no, Your Honor." Lyra entered late, pale under courthouse lights. Cameron appeared by video, head bowed as the footage rolled, Drayton's voice sealing their fate. The ruling came clean and final. Permanent injunction, restitution, full title restoration, and an active investigation for exploitation and forgery. The clerk's stamp echoed like a heartbeat. "Write it down," I whispered, "or it didn't happen." That evening, under the HOA pavilion. Reggie returned the last dealer release. The board president read the judge's order to the small crowd, voice steady as law. I stood before them and said, "I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm telling you to keep your paperwork clean." Reggie handed me Drayton's old service log, oil changes, initials side by side. Ordinary love, written proof. A neighbor asked if I'd speak at the church seniors group about protecting themselves. "Glad to," I said. "I'll bring colored tabs." The crowd didn't clap. They nodded. That's better than applause. Later that night, Cameron's attorney sent a message. He regrets, requests contact. Jethro replied for me. Compliance first, then supervise conversation. Lyra's devices were seized. Her online caregiver page vanished. I changed my alerts to paper only, installed the new doorbell, and checked each lock. People confuse kindness with vacancy. I said, "My house isn't vacant." I placed the stamped orders in the red folder. First position. Then I wrote 2 letters, one to Cameron. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're doors with hinges. And one to myself. You are not invisible. I registered the workshop, paper, power, and quiet. With Alma as co-host, Drayton's video went into a private album. I'd watch it each anniversary, then live my day. Justice isn't fireworks, I said to the quiet house. It's ballast. It keeps you upright. By dusk, I turned the Shelby's ignition. The V8 answered low and certain. On the seat beside me lay the ledger and a folded map of the Natchez Trace. A small circle drawn in pencil. Stop here for peach pie. I backed down the driveway, engine humming like memory made solid. The sun dipped, the map rustled, and the first green sign pointed south. I eased onto the road, knowing exactly where I was headed next. The road curved toward the horizon, the Shelby humming steady beneath me. In the glove box, something rattled, a second key taped under the map, marked only for later. I smiled, unsure if it meant peace or another storm. Tell me, would you open it or let the past stay sealed?